Just a minute. Hello. Oh my God.
Good evening, everyone. I am Mrityunjay Agrawal, core-organizing team member, Kshitij, Indian Institute of Technology, Kharagpur. Sir, I would like to greet the distinguished panelists, the host for the evening, and the audience. Kshitij, IIT Kharagpur takes great delight in hosting the Virtual Summit 2022 in association with SBI Foundation. SBI Foundation works with the motto Service Beyond Banking and acknowledges the need of engaging with the community in various focus areas such as education, healthcare, women empowerment, rural development, and many more. The topic for today's session is Broadening Horizons, Venturing into the Development Sector. I have Professor Manoj Kumar Mondal as our host today. He is an assistant professor, Rajendra Mishra, School of Engineering Entrepreneurship, IIT Kharagpur, and offers the courses on entrepreneurship and innovation. His education include BTech honors and PhD from IIT Kharagpur. He has worked in manufacturing, banking, and R&D management and developed several technologies, especially for the rural artisans. He filed more than dozen patents, including some on micro-irrigation. He received a gold medal from consortium of Lockheed Martin, Stanford University, the University of Texas at Austin, and FICCI India for the best innovation, and another gold medal from the Ministry of Chemical and Fertilizers for another innovation. Like, he is member of the team developing several technologies to meet COVID-19 challenges. We are honored to have you as our host tonight, sir. Now, I would like to ask Professor Mondal to introduce the guest and take the session forward. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. A very good evening. This evening, we have an illustrious list of panelists who are distinguished leaders in their respective field, particularly in the development sector. We have the first speaker as Mr. Lalit Mohan. He preferred to be introduced by himself. Moving forward, I will introduce the other panelists to take the process forward. So I invite Mr. Lalit Mohan to kindly deliver his introductory uh, talk. Welcome, Mr. Mohan.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Mondal. So, good evening, all. I'm very glad to join this panelist where the from the development sectors are present. So, just to introduce myself, I'm a career banker having experience of more than 30 years in banking with the Reserve Bank of India and the State Bank of India. Joined Reserve Bank in 90 and then State Bank of India in 95, switch over from RBI to SBI. And prior coming to the SBI Foundation, I was at Chandigarh Circle of the bank, heading a Panchkula module, what is called zonal office in our terminology. So I was a zonal head there, and after that, I headed the SME vertical of our Chandigarh Circle, consisting of 3 states and 3 union territories. So then, after this, bank has given me this role and responsibility to come to the foundation as a president and chief operating officer. So I joined on 1st of June last year. Took charge from Mr. Nixon, who was the earlier president and coup. So, though we have been associated with the development sector and the various CSR activity as a banker, because State Bank since beginning is very keen for the societal development, particularly through its various programs. So, something development sector and CSR is not new to me. So, very glad to see here Mr. Levy Johnson, who is a pioneer in development sector and closely associated with us in our various programs. Uh, I am seeing my our Wi-Fi alumni, Shwajit and others, and our Wi-Fi team here. So I have been asked to deliver the inaugural address, particularly on the topic of broadening the horizons, venturing into the development sector. So, when we talk about the development sector and the role of youths in the development sector. So, from the foundation, I can talk only about our unique CSR fellowship program of Youth for India, where urban youths are choosing for a challenge and going to the various rural hinterland of our country for full 13 months, and living with the communities, understanding their issues, problems, and with the help of our partner NGOs like Gram Vikas is one of such NGO, and other pan India NGOs. So understanding the community, their issues, and then gelling well with the communities and coming out with some solution. So that's the core of the program which our fellowship offers, and it's a quite popular fellowship. Now is the 10th year of the, we are in the 10th year of the fellowship, and we have a strong alumni presence of more than 450 pan India, and 60-70% of our fellows are in the development sector only, and some of have become a successful social entrepreneurs. So that's the spirit of the youth, and India being a country of youngistan, so youths like IIT Kharagpur, youths from IIT Kharagpur, we look forward for I think innovation and designing of many devices where the CSR capital can come to the solutions, to helping these youths to design some programs and design some solutions, so that various challenges with our rural sector faces, uh, we can put some solutions to it. So thank you all. I think calling for me, this was just this my I want to say and share. So look forward for further discussion of the panel. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lalit Mohan. It was a wonderful lecture, and we came to know about all your initiatives that will enlighten our students, and they will look forward to uh, get benefit of them. We all live to be happy. There's no doubt about that. Whatever you want to earn money, you want to look for a career, whatever you want, we ultimately want to achieve happiness. For achieving that, we need to be mindful that this is only possible when we follow that sabka saath sabka vikas principle. All the malaise of our society is because of the unequitable distribution of wealth, and some people are falling behind, and they are always behind, and for their existential crisis they create trouble for us. And we want a beautiful world. A beautiful world is possible only when everybody looks beautiful. So that is the perhaps the main ethos of development sector. Development sector is not for helping the poor or helping the downtrodden or underprivileged. Development sector is for the benefit of ourselves, or for the benefit of the top people of the world, because development of the bottom will ensure happiness of the top. With that philosophy, we'll start our session. As I said, we have an illustrious panel of distinguished guests who are leader in their own field in the different aspects of development sector. They have done outstanding work, and we are privileged, we are fortunate to have them here. So I'm just introducing the panelists now, who will take up your questions and try to enlighten you on different aspects that is bogging your mind. First, I have Mr. Levy Johnson. He's the Executive Director of Gram Vikas. He's a social development manager with over 25 years of experience at grassroots and policy level work in areas of natural resources, disaster management, and organizational development. Currently, Mr. Levy is the Executive Director at Gram Vikas, a community development organization working in partnership with rural communities to help improve the quality of life in the villages of Odisha and neighboring states. He's an alumnus of Institute of Rural Management, Anand. We have Mr. Shubhajit Pine. He's a strategic consultant for impact organization post a corporate stint. He has been working in the impact and social development space for over a decade now. Mr. Shubhajit was instrumental in developing the distinctive Pan-India SBI Youth for India Fellowship, creating and mentoring a number of organization leaders, entrepreneurs, and committed social sector professionals. He is an alumnus of Indian Institute of Management, Lucknow, and Presidency College, Kolkata. We have MS Sunaina Chhatrapati. I'm sorry for. Okay. She is the chief functionary at Makla Jagriti. She is an HR professional turned agent for effective social change. Ms. Sunaina is interested in enhancing the quality of and outcomes of the public education system in India. She currently is a chief functionary leading Makla Jagriti, an NGO that works towards empowering children and youth from marginalized communities, reaching more than 30,000 children on a daily basis. She is an alumnus of Symbiosis Institute of Business Management, Pune, and National Institute of Technology, Karnataka, Surathkal. We have Mr. Gan Prakash. He is the program coordinator at SBI Youth for India Fellowship, SBI Foundation. Mr. Gyan, an alumnus of IIT Kharagpur, a big hand, began his career in the corporate sector. 3 years later, he began to transcend into the development sector by venturing into integrate his education, skills, and passion in a range of initiatives, which are designed to have a positive impact on the community. Gyan is an alumnus of Binod Gupta School of Management, IIT Kharagpur, and Birla Institute of Technology, Mesra, Ranchi. So, welcome the panelists, and we look forward to a wonderful brainstorming session full of insights that will enlighten our students and attract them to venture into social entrepreneurship or at least development sector, either for job or anything else. I just want to mention one more sentence that there are some non-government organization, not-for-profit organization like Pradhan, who comes here for recruiting IIT graduates. So there are NGOs who offer job opportunities for IIT graduates where companies kind of Google, Microsoft, and all are also coming. With that note, I kindly request our panelists to take the seats, and I will try to communicate the questions that are being raised by our students. All set. So I will invite Mr. Levy to take the first question, and then others can complement whatever they would like to contribute. What is the development sector? That is a question that our students are interested to know.
Thank you, Dr. Mandal, and organizers of this summit. It's wonderful to be talking to this young future of India cohort here from IIT Kharagpur. The development sector that is being referred to here is actually, as of today, standing on the shoulders of a long history of work that many people have done. It started off from the concept of seva, which has been part of the traditional parampara of India, of Bharat. Gandhiji is the one who kind of institutionalized it through his Sarvodaya approach that everybody should benefit. But Gandhiji also focused on the last person, and his approach was called Antyodaya. So what we do today in the development sector is to a great extent built on the principles of Antyodaya. There's also another point of view on this. If you look at how society built and growth happens in society, there is a state as one actor, which is responsible for overall citizens' well-being. Then there is a market, the businesses that provide goods and services. What has been recognized is also that there is a gap in what the state and market can do, and therefore traditionally there has been what's called the third sector. This has had many names over the last many years. It keeps changing. For a long time they were called voluntary agencies, then they became known as non-government organizations. Today, I think the most common parlance is civil society organizations, because these are organizations that are not part of the state or the government, not part of the market or businesses, but more kind of interest organizations that come out from the basis of doing seva or following the principles of Antyodaya. So that is, when we talk about development sector, we are basically talking about what came out of this process. Within civil society today, you also have, you know, part of civil society that aligns a lot more with the state. There is a part of civil society which, I mean, many of you are familiar with the term social enterprises, which aligns a lot more with the market. There are a bunch of people who focus on rights and entitlements of people and look at people who've been who continuously are in the margins or outside the margins. So there are activist organizations, there are activists. There are many organizations that work directly at the last mile service delivery. And the organization that I work with, Gram Vikas, does that kind of work. We work directly with either in villages or in urban slums, or directly with people who've been in the margins, who have been marginalized, and for whom the state and market continue to be distant. Over the last 20 years or so, Panchayati Raj system has strengthened in India, and because of which the role of such organizations have reduced. But I think what is key is the fundamental principles of Sarvodaya and Antyodaya and the basis of Seva, and how we have moved away from charity to welfare to also buzzwords like sustainable development, empowerment. So to understand development sector, it is important to understand that we are not talking about any one particular point of view or aspect, but many of these things coming together. And I think the greatest strength of the development sector is the plurality and the multiplicity of approaches and ways problems are understood and solutions are offered. I'll stop there, and I'll request my fellow panelists to put in their points of view.
Is it okay if I speak, Selena?
Yes, please go on.
Yeah. So one thing I'm taking forward from what Libby was already talking about, one thing that I would really request the audience here, I mean, of course, there's a span of time to which we are limited, right? And we really know, as a group of people who have been working in this sector, that a lot about the sector happens within it, and there's a lot of material available to read about it, and a lot of that does not make it to mainstream reading, right? And therefore, I really would request, taking from what Libby has said, for the entire group here, beyond the time and scope that this conference provides, to really read about certain things, and dwell upon certain things, because we are all thinkers, right, at this stage of our lives. So think really, when we say development sector, we immediately link it to non-governmental organizations. But well, does the term really mean something like that? Non-governmental organizations are any organizations other than government, right? So there are problems there. There's this standard thing that comes across in our language, the us versus them, right? We are doing something for the development of them. But who is that them? Don't we also require certain things to develop ourselves? Similarly, whenever we try to define this term development sector, there's a problem with that itself, because the moment you do that, you seem to say that this is the job of these guys to do development, and all of the other things that we talked about, the market and the government, they seems to be not having to do development. That's not how it is. If a telecom company's work changes connectivity, brings data transparency, changes the way society functions, that can also be responsible development work. So how you work in the development sector is not restricted to working with NGOs, doing charity, doing only work with welfare organizations. The development sector might be a coinage referring to a certain kind of organizations, but if you go into depths of it, you can do a lot of development work in very many areas that exist in the job market today, right? So I would really bring in that point for my fellow panelists to take over from here. Thank you.
Professor, you're on mute.
Yeah, that is very well said. And I keep telling at different platforms, like I was part of a project called RUTAG, Rural Technology Action Group, where we used to develop technologies for rural people, rural artisan in particular. I don't remember if we worked with Gram Vikas, but the name actually rings a bell, where we used to espouse that there is a top-down approach and a bottom-up approach. So corporates perhaps is doing a top-down approach. They invest money in industry, they create jobs, and eventually it trickles down to the bottom. Whereas perhaps the development sector tries a bottom-up approach, meaning whosoever is not being served, they try to bring them in the mainstream, and then eventually they kind of take the advantage of development that is happening at the upper level. Anybody else would like to add to this?
No, so I think we can go ahead.
Okay, great. So my next question. Actually, we have a lot of misconception about many things, social or say development sector in particular, and that is why perhaps talent does not. They are undecided as to whether they should go into development sector. Is it looked down upon by most people, or is it going to brand me as a very different kind of people? So students would like to know what are the myths around this social development, and how do you bust the myths? I mean, what do we have to offer to bust them? So I think Madam Sunayana Chhatrapati may kindly take it.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much for having me here. Really happy to be interacting with all of you. I think in my own experience, since I was working earlier in the corporate sector, and more recently, probably 7, 8 years down the line, is when I made the switch. Is when a lot of these myths were busted for myself. I experienced each of these. One, like Shivajit was pointing out, and even Libby was pointing out, development sector is not just about the grassroots organizations or those who work, at the grassroots level. Of course, that is the largest, the base and the foundation, I would say. But there are many other organizations and kind of work that contribute to this. One, like Shivajit said, any work you do could contribute to the larger development. But I'd also like to point out, in the recent years, there are more organizations like foundations, philanthropies, CSRs, consulting work, that has all come and become part of this larger sector, where more and more people are contributing meaningfully towards this sector. So the first thing I would say is that the opportunities are a lot. So a lot of people assume, like sir, you were saying, this is not a career path. This is something that I will do post retirement, or this is something I will do sometime when I have the time. So I think that is the first myth I would like to address, that it is definitely a career path. It's definitely a meaningful career. And the other thought is that there is no career progression. You're a social worker, that is your branding. But in my experience, after moving to this sector, I have seen, I myself have grown. I joined as a program manager, I grew to be a program director, and now I'm leading the organization as the chief functionary. So it's really not true that this is not a career, or this is not there is no career progression. And related to this is a lot of assumptions that all jobs in this sector are voluntary in nature. A lot of people say, oh wow, so this is what you do, and it's a huge sacrifice that you have made, and you must be volunteering, and how many volunteers you have. While volunteerism is a very key and important aspect, it is not that everybody in the development sector is working only out of sheer volunteerism spirit. It is because we have chosen it as a profession for us. And another thing I would add, and then would like my fellow panelists add on, is people assume that this sector is probably inefficient. People do things the way they want to, and nothing is it's probably not structured. There are no processes. It's a very happy go lucky, you do whatever you want and take things as it comes. And I would like to say that definitely it's not like that. It is we are solving the most complex problems. So if you compare it to businesses, I would say non-profits and the social sector are solving much more complex problems. Definitely a lot of professionalism has come into the sector, where people are more goal oriented, more result oriented, more process oriented in the work they do, but with the spirit of innovation, with using limited resources. So I think these are some of the aspects that which people would not be aware about this sector. Yeah, I'd stop here and ask my fellow panelists to add on.
Yeah. If I may pitch in here, on lighter note, somewhere I feel that these are very relevant questions. Particular This particular question is very relevant because this myth is not here in 2021. It was there for last many years, and I remember when I was switching from IT industry, and after MBA, when I was I decided to shift into development sector. My family were very worried, and I think all of the villagers, they were asking my parents, how come your son who has graduated from IT and going into this, what you have done? Because according to them, and that if I'm going to development sector, I'm not going to be earning enough to support my family, and that's the very basic assumption in many of us which we are facing. In fact, in our fellowship, whenever we go for interview and there is a very briefing session with all the candidates, this is very typical question where they ask that whether, when we enter into development sector, whether I have education loan, will I be able to, repay those loan? And whether if I work in development sector, but I have planned for going for higher study, whether these many years in development sector will be considered, or it will be considered as a gap year. So I think it's very, these are definitely myth, because based on the career choices, especially our alumni. They are working in various field, and they are able to repay their loans, support their family, and go for international trips also. So I don't think that particular myth is very much relevant or very much true. And when it comes to whether this working in development sector will be considered gap year, or whether it will be valued or not, based on the feedback from all those alumni who went to Oxford, Harvard, they say that they are being selected only because of these grassroots experience. This grassroots experience in village, they are being valued more than working in maybe any other typical 9 to 5 job. So answer is definitely for these questions. That's why we have this briefing room, and that's why we thought this particular having panel discussion and considering this question and answering those myths. This is one step where we want to provide information to all KGP Janta out there that development sector is as good as any other sector which you might be thinking right now. Yeah.
Okay.
I want
So
to add one quick myth. Everybody who looks at the NGO people from outside think that ye to jhola wala ban gaya. That's not because we are activists. That's because jhola wala cheese is extremely comfortable attire. If your corporate people don't want you to wear t-shirts and stuff, you would actually be wearing this, right? So another short myth. Anyway, thank you. Go on.
yeah, thank you, thank you. This is wonderful. Uh, because of the interest of the time, we'll complete one round and come back again. So next question is: we do not have much idea about different sectors or different opportunities which are there under the development sector. So the third question is: what are the various domains in the development sector where students with their specific skill or aspiration they can venture into or look forward to? Anyone can take this question.
I'll do that. So domains in the development sector, like I was saying earlier, so there is one which is the most commonly understood development work, which is working in the grassroots, working directly at where the need is. So whether it is rural communities, whether it is school children, whether it is urban slums, people who are on the margins, people who are poor, or with poorer, resource poor, working directly with one is probably the most the simplest and the most common domain. The second is, of course, what is very increasingly being sneered at as jolawalas, activists, those who actually look at rights of people, what they have been, jo vanjit hai, I mean, exploited and kept away, and then fighting on their behalf. So there's a lot of work that happens around that. Beyond these two, these to my mind would be in any case starting points. Many people don't continue on this. They start with this kind of work because that is what gives one the understanding of the reality, and then keeps you grounded, gives you the grounded reality understanding, and builds your knowledge and perspective. Beyond this, and the third one that is that has come up in the last few years is entrepreneurship and a market approach to solving social problems. So you have all kinds of business models that address people's problems on the ground through a business approach. So these three would be basic. Beyond that, one gets into policy space, one gets into academic space, one gets into what is not commonly known as donor agencies, or people who do funding or provide resources, and the fourth would be consulting. My understanding and my point of view is that the first three are where you actually learn the ropes, and then you go on to build a career, as Naina was saying. You move from there to a consulting, you move to policy making, you move into resource provision, and things like that. So as you can see, the development sector actually covers everything that is there in the business sector. R&D is part of development. We do a lot of work around researching and developing applications, solutions, etc. I'll stop there and ask the younger colleagues to bring in more perspective.
This we'll revisit later because time is running away. So continuing the same discussion, like myths and various domains. Now students are confused about whether technology has some role to play in development sector, meaning if they're expert in particular domain, whether that domain knowledge, or they're all innovative, they're all very creative, and they have huge, means top class cognitive skill, whether that skill is going to be helpful, or it is just anybody and everybody can go there and shine. Means what is the need, and what is the level of contribution through technology? So would
I'll
like
take
to.
this one.
Okay.
The flat answer is yes. This is an extremely needed, important, and dynamic space. So you see, like for example, we all know we are on social media, and based on all the data points that have been continuously gathered, a lot of things are happening, and we are being artificial intelligence is driving what I'm seeing, and every lot, things are happening, right? But imagine an entire world bottom section, if you are making an economic hierarchy, exists where data is still just about to come in, and data about a whole lot of things like mental health. These are getting to start getting captured right now, right? So we are at a very nascent stage on how technology can totally flip the way things can happen in the social space. Imagine things like you can have data captured in a way where you can predict where farmer suicides are going to happen. You can predict how mental health of an entire region of schooling is happening, or how children are doing in the schools, and thereby predict issues like bullying or ragging, and even teacher exploitation, or any other issues that we deal with, right? So we are just about, I mean, any sector where data has become very, very clearly available, you see how much technology has been absorbed in, right? Development sector is a space where we are just starting off that journey. As telecom improves, as connectivity improves, as people get more and more very integrated in the way technology is, you know, attuned to their lives. So the choice actually becomes more for a young person to think, am I going to just start doing what every problem that has already been solved? Or am I going to use the same knowledge, the same technical knowledge, be it, dynamic futuristic knowledge, etc., around AI, AR, blockchain, all of these technologies, and try to do something that has never been done before? And when I'm saying that never been done before, to give you an idea about the kind of opportunities that exist, in the last few years that I have been working, I have worked with Apple, I've worked with Google, I've worked with Microsoft, I've worked with Oracle, all of the people trying to do something dynamic in the grassroots section, right? So again, just to highlight, therefore, to conclude, that the flat answer is a very clear, resounding yes. Technology, the way your skills are going to be used. It's just the question is, are you going to take a known challenge as your career, or are you going to take a challenge that is going to be dynamic tomorrow? With that, I'll conclude.
Okay. I'll just take a cue from there and extend the discussion. See, most artisans in our country are using traditional knowledge that they learned from their forefathers for centuries. Now, everywhere there is an opportunity to technological intervention and improve their efficiency, their quality, and improve their life. Because if you improve efficiency, their income automatically goes up. If you can improve the quality, they get a better market. If you connect them to the world through whatever, maybe e-commerce site, they get better price of whatever they produce. So eventually the country gets benefited. I'll put another perspective on this in a very short time. See, talents are distributed all across the world almost equally. God has not given talent only in the metro or only in rich people's house. Talents are there in poor people's house as well. But unluckily, a very poor person, even though he may have a very brilliant son or daughter, will not be able to send him to the school even to discover that this guy has a talent. Now, if you can give them an opportunity, give them access to education, you will realize that there are a lot of talents lying here and there. Now, bring them up. They are going to do a wonderful job for the society, for the country, for the economy, for everything. So, technology and hand-holding has a bright opportunity for all of us, not just for them, but we reap the benefit of having those talented guys. America depends on Indian talents, and Indian talents are going to US. We can have many more talents, and then can challenge anybody. Today we cannot criticize Russia, even though the deep down our heart we don't support it. But because we technologically depend on them, we cannot criticize. Okay, now. Technology has definite means technology is very relevant for these businesses, for these activities. What are the management challenges that are there? Like management, means what kind of management that can add optimization or efficiencies of this, or dispensation of this services, delivery of the services. Can somebody throw some light on this?
Just a quick comment on that question, responding to that. In the in our daily work, we are solving problems, and solving problems, whether it is in business, whether it is in government, whether it is in the social sector, the approach is the same. You have to understand what the problem is. You have to find out why the problem is happening. You have to look at alternatives that can solve the problem, and then you have to apply the solution and work on that. And that's the basic management principle everywhere. Everywhere there is a problem to be solved, you have to manage the solving of the problem, and it's the same in the development sector. What is the difference? The difference is you are operating in very highly resource constrained environment, so you do not have all the resources that you would want. It could be network connection, it could be electricity, it could be money, it could be the right kind of talent. So you work in extremely constrained, with constrained resources. uh, but beyond that, my experience, and I do this on a daily basis now, is somebody coming from IIM Ahmedabad or from IIT Kharagpur or from in Irma Anand, we are all solving problems very similar. The process is very similar. Sunaina?
Yeah, just wanted to share one big challenge that I face, and I know many of my fellow colleagues also in the sector face, which some of you here could probably have the solution, is getting the right talent. Right, so I think a lot of my energy goes in hiring good people. Because there is still, like we were speaking earlier, that is this really a sector to join? So there's a lot of good people out there who do not know that this is a sector which they could choose. So I think hiring right talent would make a lot of difference in improving the effectiveness of organizations like ours. And this is because I just want to add another thing, because professor was mentioning about what are the kind of jobs that you could have. So to just give you also an idea of that, any non-profit or any organization in this sector would have multiple roles. So if you like technology, there are roles for technology. If you are doing an MBA in HR, there's a need for HR. If you love communications and storytelling, that is a much needed kind of space right now. If finance is your area of interest, we are looking for good finance people. I just put out 4 openings recently, and this is really a challenge which I see most of my colleagues facing. And because of this, I also see challenges like adopting technology becoming a barrier, because we don't have the right people to kind of lead that. It's very few resources. So that is on one side. And the other, like Libby was saying, there are so many challenges thrown at us, just like every other sector. And a lot more recently have been a lot of new regulations, new compliance requirements from the government. While some of it is good, it's helping tightening the system, it also kind of pushes us back a few years in some ways. So I think that is another challenge that a lot of non-profits continuously grapple with.
Okay.
In addition to what Sulina has said, I think whenever I talk to our partner engineer, I second that, mapping of quality resource with the requirement of the organization, and that is kind of constant struggle. And in fact, our fellowship, whenever we open the application for our fellowship, take the example of last year, we got 90,000 applications for one batch, but we have constraint of maybe selecting only 100. So, finding the right people with right passion out of this bigger pool is always a challenge. So definitely, I would second what Sunena has just shared on that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll just add to that. Other than salary and all other perks that you look for in a job, the moment you see somebody smiling because of action by you, the kind of enjoyment that you get, you can never buy that with any amount of money. You just throw some money on somebody's face, you don't get it. You have to really work hard and then whatever. Meaning that is the bonus point that you get, and that brings you to the top of the pyramid. That is self actualization. At the end of the day, when you go to bed, you feel that I have done a wonderful job. Now, the next item is about case studies related to social entrepreneurship and innovation. I want to put that into perspective with my own story. Meaning not my story, but I'm just adding a story very briefly. Maybe all of you are familiar with Karshanbhai Khodidas Patel. He was a chemist. He invented a chemical formula for a low-cost detergent, and he started selling it to the villagers on his bicycle. And then eventually a brand was born that is named as Nirma. Now this is a commercial entity. That is not a social enterprise. But look at the benefit that society gained. That was targeted to the bottom of the pyramid. Obviously, rich people did not buy. But a person at the bottom of the pyramid, when he can afford to clean their clothes, their health will be taken care of. They will be able to avoid a non-working day or two, and then eventually their income goes up. They are empowered. So you extrapolate the value, you will understand that the greater value of doing this. And today, Karshanbhai Khodidas' personal net worth is more than, I think, 44,000 crore rupees. 44,000 crore rupees. So you can start small, you can think of social benefit, but eventually, the sky is the limit. Of course, that was not started as a development sector enterprise. I think even to Mr. Khodidas Patel, that was not the objective. But then when you do something for somebody, you indirectly do something for almost everybody. So I'll invite, this is an open invitation for anybody to give us some stories about successful social entrepreneurship and innovation, or entrepreneurship driven by innovation.
Yeah, I would like to take this question. And when it comes to such case study, and we look back, our fellowship started in 2011, so we have 10 years of you know uh, time to find such success story. And one success story which is very recent one is the case of Sriti Pandey. Sriti Pandey was a fellow from 1617 batch, and uh, we always listen in winter, especially regarding air pollution in Delhi, that farmers are burning agriculture waste, and because of that, air pollution is happening. And Sriti took this problem, and Mr. Libby rightly pointed out that there is a problem everywhere, and what we do is try to find solution for that. And Sriti's case is very much aligned to that. That can we do something about this air pollution, and see develop the technology to compress this uh, crop waste which is coming from the field, from the farmer, and try to build agri fiber panel for industrial and commercial builds. And Sriti's organization is called Structure, and recently last year she is also covered under Forbes 30 under 30. So right now she started the business, and during this COVID time also her technology was used to develop and build a hospital very quickly. It can be built with this technology, and her organization is really going well right now. Her revenue is more than 7 crore right now. So what we can see in this particular story is there is a problem where we all are talking about, and people are facing the this problem day in and out, and then one person is thinking and taking it as a challenge and bringing innovation, and also having a successful for profit organization. So you are getting everything, win-win situation for everyone. When talking about somewhere, Dr. Mandal was talking about a smaller innovation, and in that line, and you also talked about Professor Mandal regarding artisan. So Saloni Sancheti is one such example. So there were rural artisan in Dance district of Gujarat, and they were making bamboo product. Uh, but the obviously the quality was not very good, and the market was, that's why, not big for them. So what Saloni did is she introduced very smaller tool and different process system and uh, uh, tools to improve the quality of the product. And she also used the knowledge which is required for a successful business, improving the supply chain. So her project, her organization, which is called Bansuli, is again very successful one, where she is working with rural artisan, making very beautiful bamboo jewelries and other bamboo product. She also covered under Forbes 30 under 30 last year. And so these two are very recent one which we talked about. I also wanted to quickly touch upon something related to environment. We all sometime talk about environment, and we say that what we can do in that front. And Gautam is such a fellow from our fellowship who did a very relevant project in a dry village of MP, and there was a need of bringing more tree in that area, and because of the constraint of lack of water. And Mr. Levy directly pointed out that the lack of resource is another challenge when which you have to face when you are working in development sector. So his project, Gautam's project, was developing microforest with 4 farmer on pilot basis during the fellowship. And this project was very much successful, and we take pride that Aga Khan, which is our partner NGO, they have scaled up this project, and now there are 300 plus microforests, uh, so, in 2 states, which is MP and Gujarat, and they are being developed, and they are, the survival rate of tree is also very much above average, and it's really going good. So these are a few case study and testimonial of very relevant, very important work being done by such young mind in development sector.
Just adding on a short thing before we move. Gyan, thanks for mentioning the environment aspect. Another area which is really growing with a lot of very clear career possibilities is the ESG domain, which again links very clearly environment as well as the development space, as we technically call it. I would really request people who are interested in careers which balances both worlds. Please look into these. Again, I understand time is a concern, but most of these require a lot of conversations. Happy to help out anybody who connects us over LinkedIn, maybe, and yeah, beyond even this session.
Okay, so let's move forward. Just to conclude this particular question, there is at least one unicorn in social enterprises, that is Pink Pedal of Jaipur by Pooja Vijay. Her company is valued now more than $1 billion. So it's a social sector enterprise, and she's doing wonderfully well. Now, our next question is about policy decision or policy formulation by government of India or different countries. So the question specifically is that what development sector and its guidance in policy and advocacy. Can you throw some light on this to facilitate easy promotion of this sector?
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'd like to share from my experience. So, my organization basically works in the education space. We work with primary education, and we also work with early education. So, early education is actually for 0 to 8 years. And some of you may know, and some of you may not know, in the government system, we have what are called Anganwadis, where children of 3 to 6 years go. So, what all can non-profits do when it comes to policy or research or advocating with the government? So, one is definitely advocating, right? This could be raising concerns, raising issues, sharing a particular point of view. So, in this case, we have been advocating with the government of Karnataka about the importance of preschool learning, because in Anganwadis it's typically so happens that children come, eat, sleep, the learning part is completely missed out. But a lot of research shows how below the age of 5 is when maximum brain development happens. So we have been, we and a bunch of other nonprofits have been advocating with the government about importance of ECC, and it's not being done just like that. It's also based on evidence, right? So there have been a lot of studies which have followed children from 3 years till well until their adulthood. So showing these studies, showing the evidence about the impact is another important aspect that nonprofits can do. Awareness building about such issues, this is just one example I'm giving, but it could be any issue that the nonprofit is working on. Another aspect that a lot of nonprofits do is providing expert advice. Like many of you would know, there has been a National Education Policy 2020 that came out, and there are committees formed in most states with the education department, and the committees have a large number of nonprofits who are working with. Of course, they would have other education experts from the private sector, I'm sure from prestigious institutions as yours as well, but also a lot from the grassroots organizations as well. And I think the earlier point about innovation, Gyan gave a few examples of innovation, but innovation that can impact the masses can also be advocated for and taken to the government for reaching the masses. So I think a lot of NGOs play a very, very key role in influencing policy, influencing the way of thinking, in influencing the awareness of the government itself, and also research being done by these non-profits or think tanks also make a huge difference.
Thank
To
you.
build, to
Yeah.
build on
Please.
what just Sunena has shared, just one an additional perspective, the way our alumni are also looking at, eventually there is a system and someone is making policy, and somewhere we feel that maybe that ministry is making policy, but we have to also understand that there is a team there which is actually drafting the policy. And when we talk about that team, the team composition in such a way, they are looking for someone who has the experience of that grassroots, because the policy is being made for people. It can be rural people also. So someone who has worked with the rural people for that particular area, suppose it is education, then maybe education, and then they bring this rich knowledge to the table, being a part of that team. And that's why our alumni, when many of them, they are working with Niti Aayog, central government, state government, and DM, MPs. So these people are also looking for such resource who has the experience at grassroots, first-hand experience, and they want them in their team so that the policy which is being drafted, it is based on the actual reality and the actual constraint which the policy might has to take care. Yeah.
Just telling that in one line, that from all of the careers that I've seen, tracking a whole lot of young individuals in both private sector, as in private direct for-profit sector, and development impact space, the chances of a young person impacting policy is much, much higher in the impact space. This is as clear as that. So you can probably even see the respective age of people who are sitting here in the panel, and that speaks for itself, right? So, and that goes to the larger Youth for India alumni group, as well as other young fellowship impact intervention alumni that exist in India. It's a very niche space, but it has huge impact.
Okay, thank you. In fact, the efficiency of capital is the maximum in the development sector in non-government organization. That is why globally they are supported by government, by rich people, by everybody, because they know that this money is going to the bottom of the pyramid, and this money is actually efficiently utilized for the benefit of the people at the bottom. And when any government realizes that this is the way things are moving, our society is getting developed, or economy is getting developed, they will be motivated to come up with new policies for promoting them, just like Startup India. So because they realize that startups are giving more jobs, creating more jobs, and boosting the economy. Similarly, this field also is likely to get attention by government through more and more involvement. It's a cascading effect. You do more, get more schemes to support you, and then you can do more. So it kinds of goes like that. Now, this is the last question. This is more of a specific, means targeting the SBI program of Youth for India Fellowship. Our students would like to know about the Youth for India Fellowship program in more detail and opportunities after the fellowship, what they can look forward to after successfully attending the fellowship.
Maybe I can take this question. Thanks, Mr. Mondal. So, before talking about the fellowship, the core value where we, truly believe in is we are not saying that everyone should come into the development sector. What we are saying is you should do what you enjoy doing every day. And if you feel that coding is that particular sector where you can code for next 10 years and you will enjoy it every day, then I think coding is the sector for you. So software industry can be that. And but if you feel that such kind of work which is happening in development sector is something which you want to do, which you will enjoy every day, then obviously you should take a leap of faith, try it once, and then decide whether you want to continue or not. Without trying it full time, without giving it a chance one time, you can't know, that whether it is something for you forever. With that thought, when I decided to do this fellowship, for me it was to try it once and see whether I want to go deeper in development sector or I want to continue what I was doing after MBA. And maybe somewhere the fellowship is very much aligned with that. When we started fellowship in 2011, uh, we were trying to give a platform to urban youth to go to village, to stay with the villager, to face same challenge which they are facing, and after facing challenge, they also uh, do something, contribute something to maybe improve the situation uh, slightly better. You can't do much in 1 year, and this is 13-month fellowship. We started in 2011. So far, we have completed 10 year, and in last 8 batch of fellowship, we have more than 450 alumni. If we talk about the current batch, we are having 79 fellows across 15 state and more than 45 locations, and they are working in 12 different thematic areas. So we give the freedom to our fellow to choose their thematic area, to choose in which theme, whether it is education, health, livelihood, social entrepreneurship, uh, which theme they want to try and explore. So that's how this fellowship is working. We have 14 very prestigious, very old, well-established partner NGO with us, and our partner NGO, our fellows, they are working across India, south, east, north, every part of almost. We are covering every part of India, and we take pride, because the whole concept is giving it a try, and 70% of our alumni, when they completed the fellowship, they really felt that this is something which is for them, for rest of their life. So 70% of our alumni, they decided to be in development sector after completion of the fellowship, and 30% of them who went back to continue in corporate sector or maybe academics or something, they are more, I think, more sensitive, more humble, and they are aware of what is actually happening on the ground, instead of just listening to the news. There's new, if you see the news, it's full of so many things, but they are able to pinpoint that, okay, what is the actual reality on the ground. So they also evolve. And since this fellowship is full of challenge, you will be the driver of your own fellowship journey. Somewhere you are taking care of challenge every day and night. And every time you are just thinking about the solution for one challenge, you are maybe thinking about your stay, food, travel, you're thinking about the villagers, their challenge. So because of these, deep struggle and challenging journey, a much more evolved personality, which you get at the end of the fellowship. When you talk about different intangible, leadership quality and solution-oriented thinking, everything, and that's why because of this very rich experience, and we I talked about that also, why this particular fellowship experience at grassroots is being valued by prestigious college or organization, because you actually learn something uh, which you might not learn sitting on a desk 9 to 5 and working on a computer every day. And that's why, and you evolve as a person. So talking about the opportunity from the fellowship, I think Mr. Levy covered different, sector in development sector. This fellowship opens the door to every sector. Our alumni, they are someone who wanted to go into academics. They are into very prestigious college. You take the name. They are inside India, outside India. They are working with, policymaker. They are working with Niti Aayog, central government, state government. Many of 29, 30 alumni, they thought of starting their own enterprise. So they are social entrepreneur also coming out of our fellowship. If you want to take deep, if you go into some theme, so you can also explore different organizations working in development sector. There are CSR, NGO, and many grassroots organizations. So different opportunity is not limited, and everywhere it is being valued. One more thing is someone who is very fresh out of college and they want to into development sector. Many times, it's very difficult to get in because you don't have experience, and somehow they will ask for your degree, your experience. But once you work in this in rural India for 1 year, people value this, and the entry into the development sector becomes very easy. Yeah. Uh, uh, Sunena and Suwajit is also our alumni, very prestigious, very, very first and second batch. So I would request to add something from both of them regarding the
Quick
fellowship and
thought.
yeah.
I mean, there are around 260 plus people in this room, I think. I think the simple question is how many of them thought they're going to be in the academics or jobs that they are in. I think there would be countably few. Most people are in whatever they're doing because their parents told them so or peers told them so, and that's the elephant in the room, right? Nobody really wanted to be here, correct? So this, to me, the way the program is an opportunity to actually ask yourself, "Boss, karna kya hai zindagi mein?" Right? That's as simple as that. Spend a year. It's very common, actually, if you go to mature economies, mature countries, to take a gap year. It's not so common in India. It has gotten more common over the last decade, and it is a good chance to really figure out what you want to do. And as you said, development is not charity, development is not NGO. So what you want to do is a domain after which you can go into anywhere, like a private company which works on education, on health, or whatever. So it's a window to explore yourself. So the opportunity after that is very clear, a satisfied life, because you'll not keep on wondering all your life, मुझे करना क्या था जिंदगी में, and every time after 10 years people will meet and get drunk and then say, okay, we really lost our time. That's not the case. Every one of the 70% of alumni that Youth for India has produced would have a toast to the life that they're leading. So, that's all I have to say.
Yeah, I just add a line in the interest of time that it has been the most rewarding experience for me because it helped me really figure out what I wanted to do, and I think it was. I wouldn't be exaggerating if I said that it was probably the happiest year of my life being in the fellowship, and I think it really helps you learn about yourself more than anything. So you take away much more than what you are able to give in the fellowship year, and I highly recommend it to anybody who's trying to figure out what they want to do. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Sunil. My team is also pointed out right in input is if they want to know more about our fellowship, obviously they can go and visit our website and maybe social media channel. It is sbiyouthforindia.org. In fact, our application for current batch is also on. If you and give it a thought, sleep over it, and if you feel, hey, this is something I want to try, definitely trying is not bad. Yeah.
Any other comment or anything? You can comment on any topic that we have already discussed if you have something more to contribute.
Same as Gyan, I suppose. I think many of these require a lot of conversations. Happy to converse to anybody who wants to reach out on LinkedIn or any other thing.
Great. Great. So if there is no other comment, then I should say that I'm saying this from the bottom of my heart. I'm so privileged and so happy to be associated with you people. I would like to remain connected. I'll take your contacts from students, and I'll share my contacts as well. I do a little bit of social innovation when I was working for RUTAG. It has been a wonderful experience this evening, and I look forward to more interaction. Now, Rishita will perhaps extend a vote of thanks before the closing session. Rishita?
They say change starts from within, from the heart, from the core. This is the core of our nation, untouched, left behind by today's growth story. Meet these young change makers. They had the courage to follow their hearts into the heartland of the nation.
I realize that if they get any form of alternate livelihood, which will benefit them to stay here instead of having to go out, and which they can work, in the comfort of their house, and because there is so much bamboo around them, I realize this is something that I would like to work with.
So when I came here, I chose to work on their health aspects. Since these people are working in nearly, above 45 degrees Celsius under the sun, what happens is they suffer from dehydration. And since these people have been working in the same style for their entire life, their whole body becomes chronically dehydrated.
தண்ணியெல்லாம் அதிகம் சாப்பிட வேண்டியதாக இருக்குது, ஆனால் சாப்பிட முடியுதில்லை. பக்கத்தில் வந்து எல்லா ஆண்கள்லாம் வேலை பார்த்துட்டிங்கிறதுனால நம்ம தூரத்தில் போக வேண்டியே இருக்குது. அதனால் அங்கிட்டு போக முடியுதில்லை.
With the belief that things could be different, they committed a year of their lives to the SBI Youth for India Fellowship to ride the waves of change as leaders. The fellowship allows these young change makers to follow their passion, be it in education, health, livelihood, or any aspect of rural development.
இந்த லெட்டின் கட்டி கொடுத்தது இப்போ ரொம்ப வசதியாக இருக்குது.
Because of these activities, I'm able to provide some kind of value to the society. Not only society, but as well as myself.
जो सब लोग आएंगे उसके हम सलाह लेकर और उसको हाथ पकड़कर थोड़ा आगे बढ़ेंगे.
पूजा मैडम बोल रहे थे हम खुद लोग इसका मार्केटिंग करें आगे.
ஒரு யூஸ்ஃபுல்லான பொருளையும் நீங்கள் கொடுத்தீங்க, அதனால நாங்கள் தைரியமாக இருப்போம். இனிமேல் நாங்கள் எதுவும் கூச்சப்பட மாட்டோம். ஒரு எல்லாத்தையும் ஃபேஸ் பண்ணுற அளவுக்கு இருப்போம்.
जिसको कंप्यूटर कुछ भी नहीं आता वो एक्सेल शीट वार्ड में भी काम कर सकते हैं, पेंटिंग वगैरह सब भी बना सकते हैं.
பெரிய பெரிய ஒரு நல்லது எதுவுமே நாங்கள் எதிர்பார்க்கவே இல்லைங்க. ஆனால் இப்போ சாதாரணமாக நீங்கள் சிம்பிளாக ஒரு இது செய்யணும்னு வந்திருக்கிறது வந்து எங்களுக்கு ரொம்ப மகிழ்ச்சி அளிக்கிறது.
you have to try it yourself. You are the decision maker, and it all depends on you. It all comes down to you.
The cliched unconditional love that we all hear about, we actually get to see it here.
That we should be promoting humanity. We should be promoting being together.
Yes, change starts from within, from here, and gathers into a movement to fuel change.
Thanks to all the speakers. It was very insightful session. I, on the behalf of our team, Kshitij, would like to express our humble gratitude to the panelists for the talk. Also, thank you, Professor Manoj Kumar Mondal, for being such a wonderful moderator in the session. Last but not least, thank you all for being such a wonderful audience throughout the session. The feedback form is in the chat box. Kindly fill to avail certification. Thank you.
Thank you for having us here. And thanks, Professor. Excellent moderation. We're really happy to be here.
Thank you, Kshitij ke Janta.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody. एक जिंदगी है.